Good evening. My name is Gunnar, and my co-host here is Jonah D. Pasquale. This is Craft Beer Blab on another Tuesday night. Rush Miller Eric says, listen, you two, I have to go to a shift brief and we'll be in late. No fun till I'm back. Sorry, Rush. All the fun is going to be happening before you get on, and then we'll get serious when you get on. So I don't know how that's going to work. We'll try to save some fun for you.
Maybe.
Right. No. So we got a number of different hop topics. I know I have a couple that I can remember, and I hope that you have some also. Anybody on here replaying or even live, I thank you for being here. Go ahead and share this with your friends on Twitter or Facebook, whichever you prefer, or both if you want. I'm going to go ahead and click my post a tweet button. So let's get going. Let me just start off with, so as a beer drinker, craft beer drinker especially, I know that both you and I have talked about our appreciation of IPAs.
Yep.
And so I just came across something, I think it was just today, that the American Homebrewers Association is talking about this thing called lupulin threshold shift.
Yep.
And it was kind of interesting to me that, they're talking about this phenomenon where as you drink hoppy beers, you kind of, almost build up a tolerance for it. Especially as far as taste buds go, and maybe even develop a craving for having those particular beers.
Yep.
What do you think about that?
It's hard to say because I think the problem with that is that the craft beer world is so diverse, and that's like I don't know, man. That's like trying to compare like a Wendy's burger to like In-N-Out. The criterion, there's like a main line, like sure, it's probably a burger. But again, when you talk about taste, there's just it's apples and oranges. I don't think that they're going to be able to consistently loop a good number of beers at any one given time in this specific nomenclature. Do you know what I mean? And because the other thing too, I feel like craft beer is evolving so quickly, not just so much here on the East Coast, because obviously we're seeing a newer renaissance, but even the Midwest or whatever. They've got staple types of styles brewing and what have you. But I would bet without question, if you were to ask like a brew crafter or somebody what their thoughts were about it, I'm sure that they would probably be like, nah, I don't think so, because I think ultimately what that is doing, and I could be wrong, is sort of pigeonholing the predictability. You know what I mean? I guess that's sort of kind of where I'm going with that.
Right.
I guess to your point though, the consistency is true. That I feel is true, but I think the brand integrity itself will probably police that particular aspect of the product. So I would say my thought on that is I'd give that a no. I don't think that would fly. I could be wrong, but that's just sort of my take on
it. Right. Well, and I can see how, I kind of, I tend to kind of agree. I know that because my own personal story of first time trying an IPA, and it was like, I was like, oh, what the heck am I tasting?
Right.
As you drink more of them, I don't know about necessarily developing a tolerance or even a craving, but
sure,
I think you develop a taste for it, and so you kind of appreciate it more.
Yeah.
But then, kind of playing off of that, I also came across the fact that there's a blogger, and I just put the link up, and they were talking about some hop trends that are coming up, but mostly what they're talking about is that there's a possibility of a hop shortage coming up possibly this year. And so hops are a major component of beer. They give, obviously, IPAs a lot of their flavor, but I mean, even in multi, I mean, it's in almost every beer. So,
Right.
and apparently, it only grows in a certain region,
Right.
and there's only certain amount of growers that grow them. There's only a certain amount of hop farms out there. And I think what the problem is that there's such a wide variety of hops that it's hard for farmers to say, okay, well, I'm going to focus on this hop, or I'm going to grow, these type of hops, because they don't know what the brewers are going to want, especially the craft brewers are going to want through the year. I mean, they can kind of guess, okay, well, I know that these hops are real popular, but then a lot of the other hops, and even coming from a home brewer, I'll come up with a recipe, or I'll come up with something, and I'll be like, okay, well, I'm going to use this hop, and I'm going to use that hop, and I'm going to mix these together.
Right.
And a lot of brewers are going to be the same way, where they kind of, okay, well, we want to try this for this year.
Sure.
And so that's going to make it hard for farmers to focus on a certain hop.
Right.
And so I don't know, and then they're talking about how a lot of hop farmers supply the larger companies, the macro breweries, that they also buy hops for their beers.
Right.
And so, they'll farm for those variety of hops, and then that will keep out the smaller hop varieties that a lot of the craft brewers are looking for.
Right.
So we could be getting into, and what this is also going to do is probably going to raise prices up even more, which I hate to say, because I mean, craft beer is already sometimes pretty expensive.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And it's, unfortunately, it pushes, it pushes the budget for many of us. I think that, I will be the first to say to that point, I definitely have a kind of a threshold as to what my palate will will be able to afford. I mean, there's the good stuff, which we all know. I mean, it goes without saying. I mean, it's the same way with booze. I mean, Johnny Walker Blue, of course, we'd love to, who wouldn't, would love to drink Johnny Walker Blue, but, at $200 a bottle and $30 a rocks glass for how much, yeah. And I can see that. I do have a good friend of mine from the ski industry, and I have to do some research later on, but he was a pro patroller, and he actually, this was about a year and a half ago. He actually, I think it's Black Dog. I'll have to research it, but anyway, he actually here in upstate New York created a hops farm. And it was funny, and it's fun. And if I don't remember, do remind me. But he that's exactly what he does. And it's funny because he said that to me. He's like, at that time I was sort of dabbling in craft beer, but he's like, oh yeah, he goes, it's going to be a problem. And it's funny because I can see, to your point about those guys following. I mean, it certainly could be an issue, but I think also too though, man, I think that. As a collective, I have to say, this sort of, kind of dovetails to the first conversation we were having about some type of standardization. I mean, obviously not in terms of predictability, but because of this exact point. Think about hops and mash and sour and all that. There are some basic ingredients, obviously, but to your point, about the complexity of different craft beers, obviously they're going to be drawing from unique pockets. I mean, obviously it's almost like wine, to a certain degree. I mean, look at wine. I mean, there are certain grapes that are grown in certain regions. There's certain style wines, there's reds, there's whites, blah, blah, blah. There's ice wines, whatever. But I mean, I think at the end of the day, I guess it is what it is. I mean, I can't say and again, not a wine expert, not at all. But I mean, my point is, all of a sudden, is a new style of wine, other than some kind of like ridiculous, super, homogenized, cross pollinated, whatever. But I mean, for craft brew, anyway, for the viewers out there, yeah, I mean, I could see that being a huge problem. Right. And I don't know, man. It's like, how would it's weird. It sounds to me that there's just a huge disconnect between, what some twisted up, master brewer with a beard wants to be making like today, tomorrow. Really, I mean, when we talk about some of the earlier shows about sours and things like that, where it takes an entire year to brew something like that. I mean, I don't know where the disconnect is with the actual hop farmers, but yeah, I mean, that could be an issue. I don't know. Hopefully not.
And again, coming from being a home brewer, I see it kind of already. In fact, so I have a recipe that I'm brewing, and this is actually the second time that I'm brewing this recipe. And I ordered all the ingredients online from northernbrewer.com, but I had accidentally ordered one packet of hops that was incorrect, and so I needed an ounce of mosaic hops. And so I was like, well, what am I going to do? I need this hop. And in researching it, I think because there are some hops that you can replace with a different hop that has, because with hops, it's all about flavor and aroma. And so I was like, okay, well, maybe I can replace it with something that'll be similar. And looking it up, well, this hop that I chose is actually a new variety that was just released, I think, a couple of years ago. And so it's actually already kind of rare because it's a new variety. And then it's also just kind of getting rare as homebrew shops. So I'm like, okay, well, I need this hop. So I call up our local homebrew shop. I'm like, hey, do you guys have this mosaic hop? He's like, yeah, but I only got a couple packs, but so you'll probably want to come in as soon as you can to get it. I'm like, okay, I'll be there in 10 minutes. So literally I jumped in my car, went down there, picked up a packet. And then he's like, well, maybe you want to pick up a couple of packets. And I'm like, yeah, I probably should, but I just want to get this one brew going. And so I'm going to hold off on it. But I probably should have bought a couple if I want to mimic this recipe some more. And again, because when I go back, maybe if I go back in a month or 2 months, he may not have those hops anymore. And so then I'll have to really change the recipe and figure out, okay, well, what am I going to do?
Well, but then you brought up a good point. I mean, here's the thing. How long? I mean, like, what's a crop? Like, corn, knee high by July or whatever. I mean, like, I get, and probably my own ignorance, I should know. So, I mean, realistically, what does it take for the audience out there? I mean, what's a turn, on a crop of hops? I mean, how long does it take to come up with enough of a batch or a harvest or whatever to come to market? I mean, my point to you is, could you not like dig a bunch of fence posts in your backyard, throw up some some wire and grow a hops farm? I mean, is that gonna happen? No. I mean, but maybe if you sleep at the Holiday Inn Express, it could happen. I don't know. I mean, seriously, do you know the answer to that?
No, yeah. Well, I mean, people do grow. In fact, one of my neighbors has a hop plant growing in his backyard, and I've been tempted.
I'm sorry. Did you say pot? Did you say pot plant?
Yeah. No. That's not legal.
Okay. Sorry. This is a craft beer blab, not 420 blab. I just want to make sure.
Right. No. So he has plants growing in his backyard, and I've been tempted to pick some. Well, and to your point, I think those two plants are actually related. Like they're almost cousins.
Yes. Yes, that is true.
That is true. That can go off onto a whole subject there.
Yes, don't let the government know that, because then they would own the patent to hops as well. By the way, did you know that? I'll tell you.
Well, and you know what? That brings me to another thing that kind of, I don't know how I feel on this, because some of these hop varieties are patented, and so I mean, I come from kind of this standpoint that how are you going to patent a plant? I mean, that's a living thing. Why? On the other hand, I can understand a farmer that maybe, he cultivates and he kind of crossbreeds or whatever to get the right stuff that he wants, and then releases it out. He patents it so that, obviously, when it comes down to it, if you can make money on it, cheers, Nooner86. How are you doing today? If you can make money on it, I mean, I'm not going to hold that against the guy.
Yeah. Well, it's I think, like you say, is anytime something like that's modified where it's not like the original, then I think that there is that conversation. But I mean, hops, that could be the future as we know it. I mean, it could be pretty scary. You know what I mean? I think that's we're talking about something that is clearly the open frontier. And I mean, right now, everybody's like, oh, I love craft beer, but meanwhile, it's like I don't know if I have any Futurama fans out there. If you want to watch the Slurm episode, it was hilarious, where they had the the brain and the character, and they tried to figure out where Slurm was coming from. But my point to you, audience, is that the source, right? Which is what we're talking about, the hops. Right. This is really, that's the proverbial pot of gold at the end of the rainbow, and not for nothing, as the scarcity, really becomes more prevalent, like you said, all of a sudden, people are gonna be like, oh, how come, two things are gonna happen, to your point. The price of craft beer is going to go through the roof. There's no question about it, right? Or what's going to happen is these, Aborigine, cross-pollinated whack job, puppy piss beers are going to come out of nowhere. I mean, we'll all be drinking, natty daddies on the corner out of brown paper bags. I don't know, man. Red flag Dan's probably going to give me some hearts on that one. I don't know. I'm just kidding. Anyway. Hey, Nooner86, welcome. Good to see you. Thanks for joining Craft Beer Blab. Folks, if you're just tuning in, Jonah D, your co-host, thank you for joining us. Next to me, this way, that way, whichever the interface is with us. Anello Grande Gunnar Soros, the host with the most. He's bringing on the heat every Tuesday at 9:30 p.m. Again, do us a favor, share this out, tell a bird. You can also share to your audience on Facebook. As I said, also to send out the hashtag Craft Beer Blab. That would be great. And again, we do have an exciting show. We're just kind of this part of the earlier show. We're going through what we call our hop topics, which are some of the notable trends and things that we've been reviewing throughout the week in the Twitter sphere and other resources. So, Gunnar, that's been a major. It sounds like that could be an entirely different show, but I guess maybe we can kind of curtail that one. I did have one other one also. I don't know if you caught this one. It was a little bit. It may have been a little bit of an old tweet, but I think I did actually catch the tail end of it. They actually voted for the best beers. I just snapped out the link there. It was by the folks from The Full Pint. Oh, yeah. The best. Okay, listen to me, audience. The best craft beer voted. At the time this tweet was sent out, with approximately 668 votes, was Founders Ridiculous Imperial Red IPA with a 9.66%. Booyah. And second place, Gunnar, I'm going to tell you, you're probably going to be not too surprised about this. Who do you think the second most popular craft beer of the year was? We've had him on as a hot topic, and we talked about it a little bit. You just recently were in the news.
Right. No, and I'm cheating because I'm looking right at the
Ballast.
Ballast Point.
That was Ballast Point. I honestly can tell you I'm very surprised that it was grapefruit, though. But again, it is. I don't mind grapefruit. But again, second was grapefruit. Third, listen to this: Funky Buddha Last Snow. Good Lord, right. Where in the world is that brewed? But again, that was the third runner up. And look at this: your local crew rocking out the Surly Brewing team with Todd the Axeman.
Oh,
have you had that yet? Have you had that?
That's a great beer. It's a great IPA. Excellent. It's well worth it if you can get it. So yeah, rocking it early.
And then we got Treehouse Julius Oscar Blues. Interestingly enough, with a newer edition. I've not tasted this. I'm gonna say I'm on the fence, and this is probably gonna be another show where we do highlight these types of beers. But apparently, Death by Coconut is supposed to be pretty good. Now, I don't know about you, man. Oh man, my spidey senses tingle when I hear that one. Apparently, I've read the reviews and people are into it. And then the last few here, and we'll get right to it. Warped Wing Brewery, Ermel's, a Green Flash Soul IPA, and then 21st Amendment Toaster Pastry. Whoa!
Oh, that's
so. At any rate, again, apparently every year there's a vote for the best craft beers. But again, I've obviously heard of Founders. No surprise there. Ballast Point, Funky Buddha. Don't know where they're from. May need to do a little bit of research. But as I said, so there you have it. That was my hot topic I had, and I guess we can take us to the bridge.
Yeah. Well, one other thing. So there, maybe you caught this on, I think it was on Friday, I heard. So there's an app that I use, and I think you probably used it yourself, Jonah.
Oh, yeah.
Untappd is the
yeah.
You go through and you can rate beers and you can get fancy badges and all kinds of stuff. Usually what I use it as, besides the novelty of earning badges, I just kind of use it as a reminder. Okay, I can say, okay, I tasted this beer and I liked it, and maybe a couple of little tasting notes, and then that way if I go back I can say, okay, well, yeah, I like that one, I'm going to get this one for this week or something. And so it's an interesting app that you can get and use, but they're merging with a company, and I can't remember the company's name. I should let me see if I can find it real fast. They're merging with another app company, and what is it?
Yeah, I didn't get it. I know,
but so they're merging, and so obviously things are going to probably change. Oh, Next Glass,
yeah.
More of a restaurant app. So they merged with that company, that app maker.
Yep.
And so they've got some things going on. Now, what's really cool is, and hopefully he'll make it, one of the original developers of Untappd has agreed to come on tonight, and he just texted me about 10 minutes ago and said he's going to try to come on at about 9:30. So hopefully he can make it, and we can talk to him about what's going on with Untappd and what plans they have for the future.
Yeah.
So that'll be kind of interesting. I'm definitely looking forward to talking to him, and I just like talking to people that kind of get things going, and obviously there's probably thousands and thousands of people on Untappd every night logging in their beers, so kind of see how he got into that.
Yeah, I think that's a great app. I actually had been on that program for quite a while. I had a really shitty Android phone that literally was getting crushed with data. So unfortunately, it was a sad day that I took it off my phone. And since then, obviously, I've upgraded and got me a real phone. But it's funny. I've actually not put the app back on my phone, but I obviously still have my my account. And I do get these push notifications that so and so wants to follow you and so and so. Anyway, so my point was, I was like, all right, what the hell? Since obviously we kind of came to the fruition of Craft Beer Blab, I got back into it, and it's super handy. And one of the best things that I like about Untappd, without question, is that you can research the beers. Like you can be like, I want to try Allagash White Ale, right? So you can go in, you can like bang out like Allagash White Ale. You can get information about the brewery. You can get information about the beer. You can get information about people that like the beer, your friends that like the beer. So I think that in that respect, I think that is without question huge. So it's a great app, and if you've not, again, you don't. Just to preface it, it's like you don't have to be a hardcore beer drinker. I feel that is, I don't want to say that's the misconception of Untappd. It's super helpful. In fact, I would say without question, it's probably a great bridge to people trying to get into drinking craft beer, because odds are they'll be able to have a couple of their friends that they know that, I know Gunnar likes this kind of beer, or, this is his preference. Okay, I might like that, whatever. So my point to you is the next time you go into your local package store or whatever, and you're going to try a beer, I mean, you're going to be way more apt to try something different instead of, okay, well, it's Shock Top again,
Right.
I'm not dissing Shock Top. I just, that's not my bag. But most people fall into a rut and they keep getting the same beers over and over again. Ironically, we were talking IPAs and for some reason, by the way, I don't know if you noticed this, but man, it seems like IPAs are just getting a bad rap as like the oh wow, that's craft beer. I mean, it is, but as to our points of this show, I mean, there's so many different awesome styles of beer that that are out there. Not enough days in the week to try them all, unfortunately, but we'll get there. We'll
try. I mean, every week we'll be on here, and hopefully we're trying different types of beer. So that's a step in the right direction. I was going to say too that I've noticed, and I can't bring it up right now, but I've noticed that on Untappd, when you enter a beer, it will give you a recommendation based on, I think, what you're rating that beer that you're drinking at. So, say if you put in Surly Furious and you say, okay, I like that beer, I think it'll give you recommendations based on that of other beers that you may want to try. So that's kind of neat.
I think it works off of the algorithm. It's their algorithm, whatever. Anyway, but also it's your preference. It's exactly what you're saying. It's your preferences. So, for example, if you are checking in with a lot of heartier beers or IPAs or stouts or whatever. No, it is without question designed that way because I think that's a fairly new feature because I definitely don't remember that being on there. But I honestly find that to be super helpful. In fact, I would definitely say that without question, would it get me to try the suggested styles of beers? Probably.